Okay, so today we're going to do a timing chain adjustment on this 1981 Honda CM400E. At least I think it's a 81. Let's just do a little check here. Yes, 1981. There are two ways to do this. There's the automatic way and the manual method that I'll be using. The automatic method is to use Honda's timing adjuster, which is this little bolt. I don't know if you can see it or not, right here. And the way this works is when the engine is warm and running, you loosen the nut off, and there is a tensioner spring that pulls down on the chain guide, and it bows out and puts more tension on the chain. And once the spring pulls it down, tensions it correctly, you snug the bolt up, and you're done. It should take more than 15 or 20 seconds. However, since these bikes are getting old and the springs are getting weak, I imagine chain rails are probably getting stiffer, a lot of the time this doesn't work, so you get this annoying clattering sound as the chain is loose inside. Now the manual method, which is the one I'm going to show you, is where you take a screwdriver. Well, first you take the valve cover off, and you take a screwdriver in there, you loosen off this nut, and you push down on it while you rock the flywheel back and forth, and this manual pressure bows the timing chain guide outward. You're basically achieving the same thing, but it overcomes the weak spring. So let's just pop this apart and I'll show you what we're looking at. Okay, so the first step here is to pop the seat off. There's two clips on the back, and it should just lift right off. That aside for later. Next we pop the tank off the bike. There is one bolt right at the base of the tank in a rubber mount. In this case it is a 12mm bolt, but I have a sneaking suspicion this is not the original. We'll just pop that off there. Pull the side so you don't lose it. Next up, you make sure your fuel is turned off. Then you pop the fuel line off of the tank. In this case, it's stuck on there, so just get a pair of needle nose pliers in there and pop her off. There we go. And the tank pivots up and pulls straight off the bike. So as you can see, this is just with the tank and the seat removed. So what we're after here is now we're going to take off this PCV breather line, as well as these two right here, the other one, valve cover bolts, and this will pop right off. It will leak a little bit of oil when you take it off, so it's handy to have some paper towel or a rag or something ready to catch the oil that spills. So we'll just pop that off now. My bolts don't match on here because one is an aftermarket replacement. However, if yours are still the original Honda studs, they will both be 10mm bolts. So just pop them off. That's one. And then the other one, which in my case is quite a bit bigger. I believe it's actually a 14. Again, yours will both be 10s. Unless someone's replaced yours, like mine has, and then they might be different too. I think mine may be needing some new rubbers on there. Seems to be deteriorating somewhat. Interesting. And remove the breather hose. Again, if it's stuck on there, you can pry it off with a pair of needle nose pliers or a screwdriver, whatever you have. Push it out of the way. Get some paper towel ready to mop up the oil, which will leak out. Don't think that you'll grab some paper towel afterwards because it's not going to leak on you. It will. It always does. You may also need to move the HT leads out of the way. Just tuck them up over top of the bike here, as it is a little bit tricky to pop the valve cover out of here. You gotta slant it up, and then it will come out the right side of the bike, I believe. So just pop it loose. There she goes. Slide it forward a little bit. And now, gotta wrestle with it a little bit to get it out. Slide it forward. There she goes. Out the right side of the bike. And the gasket should come with it. Okay. Mine's been sitting for a while, so it would seem that all the oil is drained back down into the crankcase, so I lucked out. I don't have to worry about any leakage, which is highly unusual. Usually it leaks all over the place when you do this. So now, I'll just show you what we're looking at here. So if you've never seen it before, this is what it looks like underneath your crank case cover. No, I'm sorry, your valve cover. You've got your main cam gear right here with your timing chain that goes around the top. These are your rocker arms. There's two for the intake side, one for the exhaust side at the front. Same on both sides. Now would also be a good time, if you haven't done so recently, to adjust your valves. I have recently, and you'll need the manual for the specs on that, or maybe I'll post them underneath this video. So what we're looking to do here is well, first we got to pop off the flywheel cover over here to get access to rock it back and forth. However, the general idea of what we're going to be doing is getting a screwdriver down in here, and you probably can't see it. See if I have a flashlight here for you. Okay, this isn't exactly a lot better, but what you'll see here is the chain comes down over the top of the gear, and in there you'll see it looks like a plastic piece retained by a metal pin. That is your tensioner. So what you're looking to do here is, once you have it loosened off the nut over here and you have access to the flywheel, you'll push down on the top of it. In fact, that's the method I would try first, assuming yours isn't stuck. So you put a screwdriver on the top of it, you're going to push down while this nut is loose. In fact, mine's thumb tight since I had this planned already. And you push down and it's going to take the slack up. You should feel it drop. It drops, it's working, that's great, that's exactly what it's supposed to happen. So you'll push it down with one hand, it will take up the slack, and you'll tighten up this nut. Okay, so to remove the flywheel cover, it's very simple. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 8mm bolts, and those all just pop straight out. Next up, then, you have to also remove your shifter, as it's in front of the flywheel cover, which goes over top of the shifter shaft. There is one bolt that you remove from the shifter right here, and then to pop it off, usually you just get a screwdriver in here. See if I can do it with one hand. Yeah, and she just pops right off the end of the shaft. She takes a little bit of love in here. I can't do this with one hand, just a second. Okay, so shifter's off, put it aside, remove the flywheel cover, take out all the bolts so they don't go flying everywhere. 2 on the bottom side. It should come off easily. Now, you don't need to force anything on these. If it's not coming off, there's probably something wrong. Sometimes the gasket will stick to the crankcase or the flywheel cover, and then just get a soft mallet, like a rubber mallet, and give it a few taps, and it should pop loose. If it doesn't, check again, you've probably missed something. Off she slides. And here is your flywheel with, this is your pickup for the ignition. Basic flywheel rotates counterclockwise. Now is also a good time, if you haven't in a while, change this gasket. You can see someone before let the gasket get old and leak some water in here. Luckily there was no damage to any of the critical parts. However, rusting around electronics and the flywheel, generally not a great thing. And the gasket kit for one of these is, I think, $50 plus shipping. And with that, it has every gasket you need. It comes with head gaskets, base gaskets, your new rocker cover gasket, everything you'll need. It's well worth the money. Okay, so we're basically ready to go here. I can't do it with one hand, so hopefully you can see it. If not, just have to go by what I'm saying. So again, what we're going to do is we're going to push down with the screwdriver on top of the tensioner. We're going to rock this slightly back and forth to take the play out of the chain. And while we're holding that down, we're going to reach in here with a wrench. I believe it's an 8 mil, I could be wrong on that, maybe an 8 or a 10. And we're going to snug it up, just snug, no more than that. It's also worth noting that there should be a small washer behind the nut on that stud, on the timing adjuster. You have to have that nut there, otherwise it will not hold your adjustment. Alright, be back in a sec. Okay, so mine was actually missing the washer, so I just went into my collection and found one here, nothing special. The important thing is just to have a small spacer there, that's all that really matters. So, let's try and do this here. So we're going to put the washer on the stud, so it's ready to go. We're going to put the nut back on. You're going to need an open-ended wrench or box-end wrench ready to tighten it up once you have it adjusted correctly. Should have it ready to go here. It is a 10 mil for the record, in case any of you were wondering. Get it ready here. You don't want to have it too loose when you do this, because you gotta turn it a long ways to lock it down. You want it just shy of snug. Okay. So make sure we're nice and loose here. Yep. Grab your screwdriver and push down on the tensioner. Now mine is dropping quite a bit, so steady pressure on there and rock flywheel back and forth while keeping pressure on your screwdriver to take the slack out of the chain. You'll find the low point. You'll feel it push up when you rock it and it'll drop down. You want to find the low point. Keep pressure on it and then tighten up your bolt. This locks the tensioner in place. You don't need it too tight, just snug. There we go. Now it's a matter of reassembly. Pop the cover back on. Remember which side you took it out of, because in my experience for some reason it likes to only go back in on the right side. Again, now's a good time to change your valve cover gasket if it's no good. Reassemble, start it up, have a listen. You shouldn't hear any clattering or anything inside. If you hear clattering, or it's louder than it was before, stop, take it apart, and do it again. Don't keep running thinking it'll go away, because it won't. It'll snap, or something else will happen, or it'll wear through part of the crankcase. I've seen that too. And then you're into more expensive repairs. Alright, there she is, all buttoned back together and running once again. Still sounds a little clackety up in the top end. I think one of my valves might be a little bit out of adjustment, and the chain on this was fairly worn when I looked at it, so it might be just a bit past its service life. Nonetheless, it's a lot better than it was. And it should be good for at least another summer's riding. So there you go. See you soon in another episode of Just Fix It.